anchor for KVUE, talking all things sports, Longhorns, and everything in between. Big weekend coming up for the number one ranked Texas Longhorns, and no better person to talk to about it than with Mr. Cory Mose. And Cory, I mean, look, you guys got an embarrassment of riches going on right now. You got the number one team in the country. You've got a Heisman front runner at quarterback who's hurt, but then, oh, by the way, your backup may be better than him. What a time to be alive as a Texas Longhorn.
I know. Can you believe it, dude? Like, it's kind of wild out here in Austin. First time number one in the nation since 2008. And like you mentioned, Arch Manning will get his first career start on Saturday. Sarkeesian made it official today during the press conference. He tried to be kind of slick with it on Monday when we talked to him. We asked, was Arch going to be the starter? He says, well, Quinn is questionable, so no, we're not going to officially name him starter. But we're all like, bro, come on. Like, we all know Arch is going to start. He officially named him starter today. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a perfect timing, though, it feels like, with this injury with Quinn, the oblique strain. You know, you got ULM this week, and, of course, next week against the Mississippi State squad, who hadn't really looked good at all this season. And then next after that is a bye week. So 3 straight weeks where Quinn can get healthy, and a lot of Texas fans are hoping that he'll be healthy enough for Oklahoma after those 3 weeks.
Cory, it's good to talk to you. I'm glad we finally got you here on The Fan. You always do great content over there, reporting on the Longhorns. When it comes to Quinn, my question for you is, should Longhorn fans want to see Quinn back in there, or do you think Arch gives them a better chance to compete for a national championship?
Oh, no, I definitely think this is Quinn's team. I mean, I don't think that's a question at all. Like, if you listen to the players when they talk, even back to spring ball, they've always mentioned how Quinn is the head of the snake. That's how they like to describe Quinn. And he's clear-cut the leader in that locker room. So, of course, any type of success Arch has, it won't matter. Once Quinn gets healthy, he will be the starter. And I believe that Quinn is the right person for that job for this season. And he's just been groomed to be the starter for this point, right? Even the things that he went through last year and having to overcome an injury last year, right? When Malik Murphy came in, he missed a couple weeks, but then he was able to get the team to the Sugar Bowl. And so I think this has all been steps of Quinn's confidence as the years have went on, as he's been the starting quarterback at Texas for this season. And even Sarkeesian today, he mentioned how the goals for Quinn is still on the table. I mean, the goal is going to be win Heisman. He wants Quinn to be in New York when the time comes. He wants Quinn to be a national champion. And I think the whole team wants that for Quinn as well, because they know how much he's invested into this program.
Cory, my next question for you is, how different will this offense look the next couple of weeks with Arch back there at quarterback? Obviously only threw, 9 passes last game, but for over 223 yards. Is this going to be a team that's more run-dependent? You're still going to see the pass. What can fans expect to see out of the Texas Longhorns with Arch at quarterback?
To be honest, Blake, bro, I think you're not going to see a difference at all. I think Arch has the same skill set as Quinn. The only difference is he can run.
20 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm about to say he can run. That's the difference. And, we actually asked Sark that on Monday. Is there going to be a different type of scheme? And Sark mentioned, no, definitely not. I mean, that's why they recruit a guy like Arch Manning. That's why they recruit a guy like Trey Owens, who's now the backup. They all have the same skill set and can all execute the offense the same way. So there isn't any type of mess-ups or deficiencies when it comes to the game plan. I mean, if you look at Michigan, since they are switching quarterbacks, it's going to be a completely different offense with Orji over there, right? And that's what Sark didn't want to happen at Texas. And so that's the plan, and now he's going to execute that in that way. Now, he didn't mention on Monday there may be a couple more read options thrown out there just because Arch can move more than Quinn. But other than that, it'll be the same exact offense as you see Quinn runs. And the question is, how well does Arch run it compared to Quinn? That's what everyone's looking to see.
Cory Mose from KVUE. I apologize. I called you Muse at the beginning of the show because he is a Muse. Maybe he's the Longhorn Muse. We may just run with that from here on out. But I'll tell you what, from as much was made about the running back position and kind of the beat down that y'all took from an injury standpoint. Jerrick Gibson has stepped in. Now you haven't had to lean on him much. They've been in control, so you felt good about that. Just a little bit about Jerrick's role so far and kind of how much more. As he gets eased into this role. And this might be the best situation with the way he's kind of been schematically put into this offense so far.
Yeah, ain't that crazy, right? The biggest question going into the year was what the heck's going to happen with that running back room. When C.J. Baxter went down, of course, he was supposed to be the lead back along with Jaden Blue. everyone's like, man, if you look around that room, you have a young Quintravion Wisner from DeSoto out there, shout out. But then also you have a freshman in Jerrick Gibson as well. How much would they complement each other? How much will they play a factor? A lot of people didn't know, right? Until the first couple games happened. Quintravion scores the first touchdown for Texas of the season, and now fast forward 3 games later, Jerrick Gibson leads the team in rushing and leads the team in rushing touchdowns. And so it's a sophomore or redshirt freshman and a true freshman leading the way on the running game. Now, mind you, Jaden Blue is the guy in that running back room. He's just having a couple injuries right now. He has an ankle situation that he's trying to overcome, and he may or may not play. He's questionable for Saturday, his game time decision. But if I was Sark, I wouldn't play him against ULM. Just let him rest another week. But, yeah, Jerrick, going back to him, it's funny because there was a picture that got posted in the preseason of all the guys in the weight room, all the running back room in the weight room, and Jerrick didn't look like a 17, 18-year-old. He looked like a grown man because he just filled out, right? He looks like a guy who's been in the weight room since he was 5 years old. And so finally getting to see him on the field, it's great to see that it does carry over. Now, Coach Sark has mentioned there's room for improvement for Jerrick. He described him as a baby rhino when he's in the open field because he just wants contact. Like, that's all he wants to do. He's like the Tasmanian devil. Like, he just wants to disrupt anybody's well-being. But sometimes you may just want to be in the open space. Maybe do a juke instead of trying to truck somebody. And so that's what they're working on right now with Jerrick. But to be so efficient with the amount of carries he's had, it's a shock to a lot of people, especially Texas fans. And I think specifically that game against Michigan, when he was able to come into the game, when Jaden Blue got hurt, have his own drive, go down the field, and score that touchdown against the Wolverines, that proved a lot to a lot of Texas fans that he didn't just do this against a talent like Colorado State, but doing it against Michigan as a true freshman bodes well for the future and for that running back room. And I got to shout out Coach Tashard Choice. I know y'all love Coach Choice out there in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And, it just proves again and again, like, how great of a coach he is. Dating back to last year when Jonathan Brooks got hurt, right? Question was, how is C.J. Baxter going to fill into his role? Well, he did a pretty good job of doing that. Now this year, C.J. Baxter goes down. How does Jaden Blue and Jerrick Gibson and Quintravion, how do they all play into their roles? Well, they're doing a pretty good job. And so I think that all starts at the top with Coach Choice. And I think he'll be a coordinator sometime soon. I just don't – a lot of Texas fans hope it's not soon. But, I mean, the way he's been able to produce and recruit at a high level like he has been, there's no reason why he won't be a coordinator or a head coach anytime soon.
Well, I think that's a great point there, Cory. A lot has been peaches and roses for the Texas Longhorns this season. A lot has been going their way. Their first test will be October 12th versus number 15th ranked Oklahoma for now, and then the week later against Georgia. What do the Texas Longhorns have to get right or fix before those games to make sure they are true contenders for that national championship?
I wouldn't say they have to fix. I mean, look, dude, they're number one team in the nation because they look that way, right? I mean, the margin of victory between all the top schools in the nation compared to Texas is not even close, especially after last week with Georgia having that close game against Kentucky. Texas has blown everybody out, even the reigning champs. And so there's nothing that I feel like they have to fix at this point. Everything has looked great, especially after going up to Ann Arbor and handling business. What they have to do, though, is get healthy. Right? You have 2 weeks or 3 weeks per se to get healthy for that Oklahoma matchup. Will Quinn be back? That's the hope. You would hope that Quinn is able to get a little bit of I'm not gonna call it a warm up game for Georgia, but I mean technically that's what it is, right? You don't want Quinn to come back his first game to be against Georgia. You want it to be against Oklahoma, and so you gotta get him healthy. You gotta get Jaden Blue healthy, and so if you can get these key pieces healthy enough for that game against Oklahoma, for that game against Georgia, that's what needs to be accomplished in the next 3 weeks of the season.
How has Sark been? I mean, we know about, hell, and the reason I ask is this. So, look, a month before the season, him and his wife were supposed to be getting divorced. They they made it Instagram official, and now all of a sudden she's dressing him before games. You're in the SEC now. You've got the number one team in the country. We know he's had a heart issue. We know he's had, feature pieces done on him. Now you've got the weight. I mean, this is, as our boy Bill Parcells, this is why you lift all these weights. This is why you do all this stuff. I mean, this is what you come to Texas for. And again, he's in the spotlight now. What's Sark been like this year? And have you noticed anything different from him from the last few years you've been covering him?
That's hilarious that you bring up L'Oreal the first thing because you're totally right. Like, that was the topic of conversation for this year, the amount of messages I got about Sark and L'Oreal and what's going on. Can you ask Sark these questions? Like, hell no, I'm not asking those questions in the press conference. You got me messed up. Like, lose my credential, bro. Like, no. But I will say everyone was worried, right?
Yeah.
If you make that announcement before the season, you know how much L'Oreal means to not only Sark, but I'm around the team. And you can tell how much the team loves L'Oreal. And I think that's why they kind of kept things going low-key, right? Like you said, she still dresses him for game day, so it's not completely cut off. And so that's kind of like the scandalous thing right now in Austin. Like, what is their relationship? No one really knows. But I will say this: whatever's happening, it's working, right? It's number one in the nation.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, though, I think Sark, when we talk to him and when we see him around the guys, he's having the time of his life right now. I mean, he mentioned something after the game against UTSA that really intrigued me. He said he's never hugged this many guys within a game before. Just celebratory hugs. Great job on that play. And I think it's because he's loving this team. And this team is different than years past. And, of course, last year's team was great as well. But I think the difference with this team is the leadership. And this is something Sark has mentioned. And not just Sark, but all the players have mentioned this as well. There's not one guy. There's not two guys that lead that locker room. Last year, you can say it was Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy. Those were the voices of that locker room. The year before that, it was Roshan Johnson. Like, he was the guy in that locker room that everyone listened to. This year, you can name 20 guys that are legit vocal leaders in that locker room. And to me, that tells me that that's less of a stress for Sark to be able to have to lead this team because he can trust the players to do that. So now all he has to focus on is scheme. Make sure that he puts the players in the right positions because he knows the guys in that locker room is going to make sure everyone else is good mentally. And so I think that's why it's been such a uplifting season for Sark, because he doesn't have the stress of having to, quote unquote, lead the team and get them mentally prepared, because he trusts the guys, the leaders in the locker room, to do so, because there's so many of them this year. A lot of these guys were on that 5-7 team, right? And so they've experienced what losing is like. They've known what it's like to walk off a field against Kansas at home and lose to the Jayhawks. Like, they experienced that. So now when they're number one in the nation, they don't want to go back. And I think that's why this leadership has been so important to this team and why Sark is having one hell of a time coaching this group.
Well, Cory, I'll get you out of here on this one. What you got planned for the weekend, and where can the people find you to keep up with your content? Oh,
man, I'm watching Manning Mania. Oh, man, I'm so excited to see this on Saturday. So I'll be on the field, of course, and we'll have a live report. It's actually going to be airing right after I think it's on our station, actually. And so we'll be live right after the game ends. But you can watch, of course, on ABC here in Austin, but online in Dallas. Check me out on Twitter. I got all the great Longhorn content for you. Cory, Cory_Mose, Mose on Twitter. IG, same thing, Cory Mose. I got a pretty unique name, so I don't have to do any extra characters, so that helps. Same thing on TikTok, just Cory Mose, CoryMose. But I will say one thing I will be looking out for on Saturday. The first game that Arch is legit preparing as a starter, right? I know a lot of people, say as a backup, you want to prepare as if you're going to start that game. But let's be honest, we're all human. You're not going to legit prepare like a starter until you're actually the starter. And so how does Arch look? A week of preparation with the ones in practice, not with the twos, being looked at as the starter with his teammates. I'm interested to see how he accepts that role and kind of embodies it. And let's see if he hits up Uncle Eli or Uncle Peyton for some advice this week as well. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how he does. And I know everyone in Austin is ready to see what this next era will look like, or I guess get a little sneak peek, because, like I said, Arch can go for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns on Saturday, and it's still Quinn's team, right? And so I think that is something to look out for. How does Arch look when he has a week of preparation as the starter?
That's probably the most important thing, though, what you just mentioned. The fact that, again, no matter how good he looks, they're going back to Quinn Ewers. And that quells any kind of quarterback controversy, any kind of social media nonsense, message board innuendo. all right, bet when this thing's done, you got number 3 that's going to be back in the lineup. God forbid he gets hurt again, but obviously
Don't tell the national media that, though. If you tell the national media that, they're like, oh, no.
Well, that's what me and Blake were talking about.
That's what we're here for, to set the record straight. That's why we got Cory Mose.
That's exactly why we got Cory Mose. And just so I understand this right, Mose is in like Mose from like the Office Mose type Mose?
Yeah, it's like the Office Mose.
Beautiful.
Facts. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Cory, well, you got an open invite anytime we're on. Appreciate you, my man. Have a wonderful weekend.
Appreciate y'all, man. Anytime you need some Longhorn contact, you know where to go to, baby.